What's going on, everybody? John Ramteen, Robin Black with you here in downtown Toronto. 185 pounds is the name of the game. Derek Brunson, his first fight since the fight with Anderson Silva. Some people would call it controversial. I think you said you thought Brunson won.
I did at the time. But I'd have to go back and watch it. I think he landed a lot more on Anderson Silva than Anderson Silva landed on him. And when things are that close, sometimes... Actually, I often don't even think... What do I think?
Yeah.
I think, what are the judges likely to think? And I actually thought the judges were likely to give it to Brunson. But you got to get it done. You have to figure it out. Like, he didn't do enough. And, hey, did he think he won 2 rounds or did anybody else? Maybe. But he didn't do enough. He didn't do enough to definitively win that fight.
Dan Kelly, the last time we saw him, we were in Las Vegas. He was getting ready to fight. No, he's getting ready to fight Rashad at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is Rashad's fight, right? This Dan Kelly, there's nowhere near as athletic as Rashad. Yeah. Rashad was a friggin' champion. He trains with the greatest people in the world. He knows how to win fights. Rashad Evans is super tough. Dan Kelly, in my opinion, is just so, not new to the sport, but in comparison to what Rashad Evans had been through, this was a no-brainer. But there's some times where you see... Kudos to Dan Kelly. Go out and beat Rashad Evans. Simply incredible. But we felt it's Rashad allowed some of those things to happen. He didn't fight the way that we know that he's capable of, and I'm sure the way that Tyrone Spong, the way that Anthony Rumble Johnson, that our buddy Evan Bourse, what they've seen of him inside of the gyms in Boca Raton, Florida, they know what Rashad's capable of.
But sometimes that credit for you performing bad goes to your opponent.
Of course.
For being able to put you in that situation. Dan Kelly, man, people appreciate effort. You know, we humans appreciate effort. This guy puts max effort for 15.
100%.
You know, work boots on, hard hat on, lunch bucket picked up, and he heads off to the work site and puts in the hard 15. And he wins like that. And we admire that. And he is the ultimate blue-collar fighter. And, an Australian judo Olympian. In New Zealand, they're going to love him. He's going to come in there lit up. And he will outwork you. If he gets through the chaotic first 3-4 minutes with Derek Brunson, man, expect him to start taking over.
But the problem is that Derek Brunson isn't like Rashad. We've seen Derek Brunson, like in the fight with Anderson Silva is one thing because you can still be frozen by the myth of Anderson Silva. And it felt like Brunson in that fight, you can give a little bit more. If you give a little bit more, you're going to get that decision. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't give a little bit more, even though he was capable of giving more. You know what I mean? Physically, it looked like he was still fresh. He just didn't go after it the way that he needed to go after it. And that's what the judges saw.
I go back 6 fights for him. He was a knockout artist in search of a second identity. So for 4 fights straight, he's knocking out everybody in the first round. Sam Alvey and Uriah Hall.
Looking good.
And he's moving his feet really well to line up the clean power shot early. Super athletic, very efficient, delivers with real power, clean technique, just smashing through every wall in front of him. And then Robert Whittaker, Bobby Knuckles, won't go down. Bobby Knuckles is a wall that won't get smashed through.
He's the man, though.
Yeah, he is the man. But he manages the first 3-4 minutes, and then after that, all of a sudden, Brunson takes a deep breath and realizes he's running out of steam. As a result, he got taken out. So he adjusted in the next fight thinking, we need to be way more patient. Only he didn't get that right either. He was too patient. So he's searching for the right identity, that right balance between patience and aggression, and he still hasn't found it. He better find it against Dan Kelly, man, because Dan Kelly will outwork him, and into rounds 2 and round 3, you watch Dan Kelly start taking over.
If Derek Brunson finds that zone, finds the way to use his youth and his athleticism and his experience and his time, Greg Jackson and all of that stuff in this fight with Dan Kelly, if you had to bet, does it make sense that you would bet Derek Brunson, right?
Yes. No. Because, no.
One of these scenarios, is that what it is?
Well, I mean, again, would you have bet Derek Brunson after you saw those 4 knockouts. Well, what are we missing with those 4 knockouts? What happens if you don't finish it? Because he's blitzing. He's full on emptying the tank, the only option in his mind is smash my way through that wall. If the wall won't be smashed, or the wall is moving out of the way, or the wall starts hitting you back, all of a sudden it's not working. Now you're weaker. Now there's a little bit of a downhill slide and you're confident. It all changes.
And do you think the 15 minutes with Anderson Silva will help him? We went 15 minutes with the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it definitely helps him. Both of those last 2 fights, all of those last 6 fights really help him. But he still hasn't found the recipe. But I suspect, and to your point, I suspect that fight with Anderson Silva gave him enough of a measuring point that's like, okay, I need to be more aggressive than that, but not quite as aggressive as I was against Bob Knuckles, and find that pocket. And yes, I think he can do it. Would I be surprised to see him lay out Dan Kelly? No, I would not. But would I be surprised to see Dan Kelly stay pretty safe in round 1, rough him up a little bit, get him in the clinch,
cage work, just beat him up there,
hard hat him,
guy.
Blue collar him? I would not be surprised. I like the fight a lot. I really like the dynamic of these 2 guys.
A cool fight at 185 pounds, Derek Brunson taking on the uber tough Dan Kelly.